Community calendar. See it.
Hi.
Hey, hey,
I'll
hey.
share my screen. Great. So my name is Nora, and I'm going to present the UX side of our project, which is Community Calendar. I'm going to kick off our PVD presentation with our problem statement, which is basically residents are experiencing increasing isolation and are frequently unaware of community gatherings around them. And similarly, community organizers don't seem to be able to reach their targeted audience. The reason being is there's a lot of noise on social network and they just can't get through. Now, little problem arising from the core problem is businesses might miss out on opportunities. People seem to be unable to go back to saved events or remember where they found their events in the first place. And then planners not showing events to their targeted audience. So they won't get people to up. Our objective is basically to make real community events readily available. And we also want to make it easy for organizers to plan events and reach their targeted audience. So we propose two solutions here: a software platform that allows community development groups to create and host event calendars specific to their locality, and also an aggregated and displayed events from other websites. So, and users can filter based on their location or interests. Okay, and how did we get to our solutions is by doing three things. We started with our competitive research, and then we did users interviews where we interviewed 3 users and 3 event organizers. And finally, it was the surveys. So I'll just talk you through, show you our competitive research. Our competitive research looked at 6 competitors, such as Eventbrite, Events Near Here, and Meetup. And there's also Facebook Local. The question we asked ourselves is what platforms they're available as, what filters they used, and if you can filter by neighborhood, if you can also create events, or if they provide calendar view. Same thing about saving and liking events and notifications. How often did they do it and why? And then we wrote our final comments, since some of them were actually new to us and we've never seen them before. So we just wanted to jot down what we thought of the UI and the overall user experience as users. After that, we got to our user interviews. And we actually did 2 sets of interviews, one set of questions for event organizers and another one for users. Due to time restriction, I'm just going to stick to users. We started out with asking them general opening questions, such as telling them we wanted to find out more about them, what they did, what their current role is, and where they were based. We also wanted to find out how long they've lived in their neighborhood, just to gauge how invested they are and connected to the community. And then we also asked them to how often they tend to search for events. And a few questions down, we asked them how often they search for events in their neighborhood. So we wanted to make clear distinction if they just wanted to find general events based on their interests, or they really wanted to find events like around them. We asked them if they've used an event calendar before and what, just to gain more insight into our competitors. And then we also asked them how they keep track of their events. This is purely from a design perspective. We wanted to know what features people were interested in. Same thing here with commenting, if they want to comment or see events. Surprisingly, no one minded. We thought the organizers will mind being contacted by users, but they didn't. They loved sharing what they know about the event with them. And then we concluded with 2 pretty open questions. The first one was features they would like to see in their ideal event calendar. And then the last one is things that they really dislike about what they're using right now. Any questions on this?
No, this user research looks great. How many users did you end up researching?
3.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I definitely try and get a little more in, but it seems like the questions and surveys are really, really good.
And then the final step, which we talked about it in depth on Friday, actually, but I'll go through them very quickly. Basically, what our survey aimed to use is to reinforce the questions we asked our users. So we wanted to find how long they've lived in their neighborhood, whether they lived in a city or a suburb. Again, our theory was people in suburbs wanted to find local events more. And then we want to see how easy it is for them to find local events, and how important it is for them to contact their organizers. And then finally, we just ask them about their pain points and what motivates them to search for events. So those are our three. That leads us to our conclusion, which is our user persona and then our event organizer persona. So here we want you to meet Alice Emerson. She's 34, she lives in Oakland, California, and she has 3 children. She has a full-time job as a digital marketer. She really doesn't have a lot of time because all her children are under the age of 5. She wants to find events around her. And she also wants to know people in her community and her neighbors. And she finds the best way to do it is by attending those community events. That's why she likes them so much. Her goals and needs are to search events by neighborhood and to be able to RSVP to events, and also filtering relevant information to her. There's no point showing her like a party on the weekend when she wants to see family-friendly events. Her ideal experience will be something that is available as a mobile app, something that sends her notifications, and something that she can follow particular organizations or neighborhoods she's interested in. That way she knows what they're up to. She wants minimal UI, nothing that will overload her. And she wants to see her upcoming and past events. Another thing that actually we got from our interviews is everyone hated really hard signing up and login. If it was too difficult, they were not interested anymore. So we think this is a very important feature to have, just to make it as simple as possible. And her pain points is not having a mobile app, not being able to sign up or sign in is just a little bit confusing. And a really important was an inaccurate filtering system where she gets shown irrelevant events or events that are outside the area that she wanted to research, which we found very common in our competitors. And then we move on to our event organizer persona. We have Ben Morrison. He's 36. He's the president of North Carolina Community Council. And he's been planning local events for about 8 years. He has been playing an active part in his community. He was born and raised in North Carolina, and his family has always been very active in his community. That's why he wants to continue that role. What he wants to do is to create and post events easily. He wants to be able to reach wider audience, and he wants his events to sync in his calendars. Once he plans an event, he wants it to show in his calendar. That's what we mean. And then he wants to see how many people are attending his event. He wants to be able to customize, so possibly color coding different events that he's organized, so he knows which community it belongs to. And he also wants to easily share his plans and collaborate with other organizers. And his
awesome. This looks great. Like I read through the user personas on the Notion. Would you be able to move into the competitor research now, just in terms of time's sake? I want to make sure I have time to ask questions for you.
Sorry, what was that?
Would you be able to move on to the competitor research? I read through this, so I got a general sense of idea, but I want to make sure we have enough time for competitor and technical research.
Oh, I already talked about.
Sorry, I mean technical research. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to pass it on then. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Wesley. I'm with the web team for community calendar. I'll share my screen. You guys see this diagram?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to be using React for the front end. We're going to be querying multiple APIs for events like Eventbrite and Meetup and Facebook. So we thought Apollo with GraphQL would be a great choice because we can pull in data from all those APIs and aggregate them. So we would have an Apollo server with GraphQL deployed on Heroku, and then our user data for when users create events would be stored in our own database, which would be built with Postgres, and that would have Prisma attached to it. So our Apollo server could communicate with the Postgres server. We would have a React front end deployed on Zeit, and our users will want to store images and marketing things for their events. So we'll either use Cloudinary or Amazon S3 to store images and videos for each related to the events. And iOS and Android will connect that single endpoint on the Apollo server. And we'll use Bulma for styling because we'll have to make a lot of custom components for the calendar view. And Bulma is a lightweight library, and it has some pre-built classes and uses Sass, and we'll be able to make all the components we need.
Can you reiterate what external APIs you're using? I heard Eventbrite.
And Meetup
Blanked on the
and
others.
possibly Facebook.
Okay. Okay, just querying all the event. Okay, I see. Makes sense. All right. Are you gonna have any sort of like authentication or user authentication?
Auth0.
Okay. So in terms of like querying like the Facebook API, how have you looked into like how you can like actually interact with it based on, will they have to log in via Facebook through this app? Or they have to, does Facebook API take in location and send back a list of events near like location? Have you looked into like the actual documentation and seeing how we can interact with the API and what's feasible?
Yes. To get anything other than the Facebook users' basic profile information, like groups they've joined and events they've signed up to, our app would have to be approved by Facebook. So that might not be an option. We might not use Facebook and only use Meetup and Eventbrite.
Okay. Yeah, I would suggest making sure that depending on how they log into the app and what data we can actually send to the API to get the necessary info, that's what we should be like determining what's feasible. If you want to use Facebook, like in terms of API, like having people like log in through Facebook, like that's totally cool. And then also like making sure, I would reading up on like those API documentation, seeing what's actually feasible. Because it's pretty easy to say like we can use like Meetup, Eventbrite, Facebook. We would also want to make sure we can actually we have the necessary data to follow through with those APIs. Okay. Other than that, this looks like it's like this tech stack you're comfortable with: React Express, Postgres, Heroku deployment. I am very interested to see how you end up dividing the features because it seems like there is a lot to this app and a lot to prioritize, and also a lot of people. Skylar, have you given thought yet into Skylar on the call? Have you given thought into like how the features are going to be divided up?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about that today. And we've got a meeting first thing in the morning to figure out and kind of finalize everything. But it's going to be fun. When we're presenting our release canvases, that's one question we had. We're presenting 3, correct?
Yes, you're presenting 3.
In our initial presentation?
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, this is approved, but make sure we're prioritizing like our release canvases and making sure we're adequately dividing up work between like iOS, Android, and web, while also being realistic at the same time. I would do a bit more technical research for the release canvases because you want to make sure how we're actually going to be interacting with these APIs and what information you're going to have on the app side. The user and competitor research were very, very good. Great job, Nora. But the technical research, I think, does need a bit of work in terms of the actual feasibility of stuff. But I think that just requires looking up more of the API documentation and understanding what data you're going to have as a community calendar and be able to send to the API. But other than that, really, really good job. You guys are approved, but do a bit more technical research going into the release canvases.